Welcome back to the International Wealth Builders Radio Show with your host, Dr. Sharon Barnes. We're here with attorney Charles James, and we were talking about investing and development in property that you already own and control and the benefits to investors. And so I want to just continue that conversation and also just mention, like with the Senate Bill 9 and 10 that passed last year, we're able to subdivide some of our lots, therefore putting additional dwelling units on there up to 4 units. 4 units or between 1 and 4 units are considered residential. Right now, most of the laws are keeping residential, but if you divide your property and have a small lot development plan laid out and willing to work in phases, you can actually take those two parcels and get up to 8 units in most areas, and that kind of hits the rims of commercial if you got 8 doors, as Attorney Charles talked about earlier. And so having a person that can help you with that, because that commercial experience is really important. And what we have, because there's other people doing accessory dwelling units out there, but as the laws evolve and they apply to multifamily, creating multifamily, increasing number of doors on existing multifamily, having someone with the commercial background and being able to get entitlements is just crucial. And so I really want to give you the opportunity to talk a little further about that and give us a little better understanding.
Okay. One of the things that I want you guys to understand that I didn't say up front is that the reason that you don't hear any pricing on this show or anything like that is because every lot is like a strand of hair. They're all different. So you can't, assert or state what the price would be for your property or another property because they all have different requirements. They're all in different shapes and sizes and things of that nature. And so you really have to be specific about the project you're doing. So I want to mention that so that everybody understands that's why we don't talk about pricing on the show. Also, the multifamily market is a different kind of market. The investor is going to be somewhat experienced and going into a market like that. And the homeowner or the residential person that would want to get into that type of market would have to be walked through because it's very, very extensive and it takes a lot to really understand that market. And what I would suggest for a person that's new and they're really just starting out is that they start in the residential market and they start slower so they can understand how things actually work, because it's very rare that a person that's a residential investor jumps into the commercial market right away, because you need to understand what a septic tank is, what city sewer is, what the different elements of the projects that you have to build. When you are working with multifamily and you're in a city, you're dealing with the Department of Transportation. You're dealing with a lot of things from the city. You have a lot of other issues that you need to consider. And the best way to learn those is to start out in like a ADU, a residential market or something like that. But for the investor that is really seasoned and they understand what they want a 12-unit building. They plan on building 5 12-unit buildings on this land. They know that the density of the land and like what it is that they're going to be putting on that property, and they've done the research with us. That project is more than likely going to be very successful because we've done the research on it. And one of the things that I can tell you guys is when I was a new builder and I didn't understand the elements of how to set up a building project, it always cost me more money than I had imagined. I've done a lot. When I was brand spanking new, I did projects that I actually paid for myself to complete. Thank you. So, so I had to pay to complete those projects, and it was very painful because I didn't make money off those projects. But now that I'm seasoned and I've been around for a long time, I know how to set up a project, so I can tell you within 1% to 2% of error what that project is going to cost you. And in the building industry, I always say you only get one bite at the apple. Because when you make a mistake in these projects, then it creates a very, very big problem for you. And these problems are not cheap to fix. That's why what you do is you invest up front. So when you invest up front with these projects, then you get to understand how valuable that is. So as you go through the project and these multifamily projects, you're putting it together, and as you put it together, you stay on time and on budget, then what happens is you're not trying to play catch up in your first, second, third year, because it's almost like you can never catch up. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to go it alone on your projects, because when you make those mistakes, now you're by yourself.
Exactly.
And you want to, in the multifamily market, have a great team. Right? And
Exactly.
it's like anything. And I'm a sports person. I play college football, and I always recognize when we had great teams that what we did is we won.
Right.
But when we had a weak coach, weak team, we lost because of the fact that we weren't put together well, and we just didn't know what we're doing. And the real estate market is no different.
Exactly.
When you put together a great team who's always thinking, always looking out for your best interest, you're going to have a greater opportunity to win. And Dr. Barnes and myself stay focused on our clients, and we try to look at what we're doing with the clients and have an understanding of where the project would be going. And so that's what we want to do for you as an investor and as a person who wants to put together a project. We want to be that coach. We want to be that great team that helps you get to the point where you're going to be financially successful and to where you're going to have a completed asset that's going to have a high value. And even if it's an ADU as opposed to a multifamily or opposed to industrial or commercial, we want to make sure that you win on these projects. And like an investor that's investing in a multifamily project is
Right.
no different than a person who's building a CVS, and they're going to put all of their wares in there and they're going to sell them. Well,
Exactly.
if you're building a CVS and you say we're going to do it in 6 months, and you end up doing it in a year and a half, that person, that business has lost a lot of money.
Exactly.
Because imagine all the clients that could have walked in there and purchased products,
Exactly.
and they didn't get the opportunity to walk in because you weren't finished. And then if
Exactly.
you go over your budget, it takes you time to go back and have to try to recoup that money. And it's more than likely you're not going to recoup that money. You just are at a loss, and so that loss is going to ride with you all the way through your ownership. And
Right.
so, like I said, in the multifamily unit and even in the ADU, and I noticed over the years that what happens, Dr. Barnes, is people, even let's say with a simple home remodel, people do a home remodel and they say, well, I think this home remodel will cost 200,000, and they end up spending $500,000. That's a big difference. That's a big
Giant
difference.
difference.
Yeah. And I was looking at an article where Vanessa Williams thought that the actress and the singer thought that she was doing a house and the remodel was going to be like $1 million or something like that.
Right.
And these numbers are somewhere in the right place, but she actually ended up spending a ton more money on the house and had to end up selling it because of the fact that when they put it together, they didn't have the proper team. And I can say that, because if you had the proper team, you wouldn't think you're going to spend $1 million and then you spend $3 million.
Right.
And that's what this is about. This is about putting together a proper team, evaluating your project, whether it be ADU or whether it be a multifamily project, and figuring out what the value is going to be at the end of that project, and figuring out how not to get lost as you go through the project. And like I was saying, back to what I was saying, people that are doing like a remodel project, they hire the wrong person.
Yeah.
They spend all the time going down to the bank. They spend all the time getting this stuff, hire this wrong person, and end up spending or $400,000 more.
Exactly, exactly. I want to really give an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the entitlement experience and what you bring. We mentioned earlier about people who have land. We have a lot of people, and I've gotten calls, and I know several that if they listen to me, they know that they've talked to me about this. They bought land years ago, and they haven't done anything with it, whether it's lack of credit, lack of funding, lack of the right team, and knowing what the next step should be. But we're talking about the difference when it's raw land, which I define right here as never having any structure or anything there. And utilities may not be nowhere close, right? You have to really get the entitlement to build anything on it. And some people bought land when it was raw out in nowhere. But right now they've had it for 20, 30, even 40 years. And their lot is the only lot not developed on the whole block of nice custom homes. So it's an infill lot. Utilities are there, curbs are there, or whatever. And so, really, I want to talk about, the entitlements, how we can help them, and to reach out, so that you can see what options, because there's options, whether it's joint venture, financing, or whatever, but it's time. If you held on property for 20 plus years and not done anything about it, located especially in California, it's time to catch the wave.
So you want to know about the all special sauce is what you're what you're asking. You want to know about the all special sauce and like what we do. So the thing is this. Look, when people tell me they don't have money, well, the land is your collateral. It's your
Exactly.
money. And basically, if all those other homes were built around that raw piece of land, somebody believed in that. And somebody is watching you saying, I cannot wait until this person falls and can't either pay the payment or either dies or something happens.
Yep.
And I can sweep in and I can get the land and I'm going to build just like all these other houses that are here. Because they recognize that, guess what? Lenders are there to lend. They're not there not to lend. So when you evaluate, your land and you're disqualifying yourself before we get an opportunity to qualify yourself, you're taking money out of your pocket. You're
Exactly.
taking money out of your heir's pocket, and you're not thinking about the idea that if you had a person evaluate what you were doing that knew what they were doing, then that raw land can turn into something that will pay you back, and something
Exactly.
that could pay you a reoccurring revenue depending on how you go about using the land. And you'll know whether or not you do you want the land to stay in your family. Do you want the land to earn you a one-time sale? What do you want to do with the land? Those are questions that we ask you
Exactly.
as we move forward, so we know what to do with the land. And as far as the entitlements go, when we're going to get the entitlements, we're going to look at all the different areas that that land can serve as a purpose. Like you said, there's homes in there, so we know that we're not going to be able to go in there and build a garage because it's not zoned for that.
Exactly.
We know we're not going to be able to put a school right in the middle of a bunch of homes unless it's zoned for that. So when we go in and we look at the zoning and things of that nature, we're going to be able to tell you this is what you can do here and this is what you can't do here. And then this is the value that we think that we can help you get if you want to sell it, you want to hold it. And, so those are the things that the entitlements will help you with. And that's what we do. We go
Yeah.
in and we help you understand that.
Yeah, and I think it's very critical to those people who have land because some in San Bernardino area, I know that there's people who've owned land and they haven't done anything with their parcel, and there are commercial retail shops, CVS's, stores all around them. You ever just drive down like Foothill or drive down one of the major streets, and it's like there's retail stores and houses, and all of a sudden it's this vacant lot, and it's been vacant for the 30 years that you've been there, and it might just be a single owner that just really don't know what the next steps are, and so it is hard to find, like you said, the right team. And again, this is the first time I had the opportunity to have someone presented, with the entitlement to really talk to the community about entitlements, about being able to do a variety of projects or structures under a comprehensive plan. And so I just think it's really important that there is help and assistance out there. There are qualified people, and that it is time for you to leverage that property that you've been sitting on, paying taxes on, hopefully keeping it in your family, but it's time for it to really make a difference to your family and the community.
Well, one of the things that we can do, like you see a Starbucks, you see a CVS, and one of the things that I feel I'm good at is I can go talk to a Starbucks. I can go talk to a CVS and say, look, I have a piece of raw land. I want to know if you guys are interested in, and if you think that you would get the traffic that you need and deserve to want to come on this land and build. And what a lot of people don't understand is you can lease land as well. I mean,
Exactly.
because it has value, it's valuable. And some of the larger retailers would rather lease the land than buy it.
Exactly.
And some of them would rather buy it. People have different strategies. And so if you were able to lease your land, the land that you see that's just sitting there, not doing anything for you, not gaining any value, well, it's gaining value, but not giving you any value as an
Right.
independent person,
Right.
then you could do that. So there's a lot of different ways to leverage your property so that you can, be successful from it. And like I said, you might be a person who's ready to retire and all you want to do is sell the land and get rid of it. That's fine. You may be a person that's like going to be working for the next 30 years and you want to lease it or you want to do something with it that's going to return value to you. That's fine too. So any of the different directions that you want to go, with your land, we can help you. And like we keep saying, we're saying it over and over again about the entitlements. The entitlements are really important because when you sell a piece of land with entitlements, it's worth a lot more than without. And if you know all the inside things and the person who's purchasing doesn't have to go look up those things because somebody's going to have to do it. then the land is more valuable. So even if your land is sitting and you don't know what you want to do, but you have a general idea and you want to get the entitlements, we can help you do that. We can work with you on that. And then if you decide to do something, you decide to.
Yeah.
But your land has value.
Yes. So I thank you so much for that information. I think people need to hear it. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up. We're going to tell you how to contact Attorney James and myself and how to move forward.